Welcome back to episode number 12 of the Meat and Potatoes podcast and another guest episode. We have a very special guest today, Mr. Brian Conway. How are you, man?
I'm all good and really appreciate the invite here, guys. And to be considered a guest on anybody's podcast is quite humbling, you know. So really appreciate the invite.
No worries. So, introduce yourself for the people who may or may not know you. What's your backstory? What do you do?
Okay, so I am a bodybuilder, kind of online coach, but my story kind of starts off. I've only been competitively bodybuilding for the last 3 years. My story goes, I was in construction my whole life since a young lad. You know, we had a family business,
Mhm.
uh, all the way up to COVID. I was on the tools and then did like a project management degree, got into site management, and then I started the online coaching on the side because I wanted to document my transition from I was obese back in my 20s, absolutely shot my self esteem. You know, I was getting lower and lower and lower. I was always bodybuilding at the time, but just eating way, way too much and getting very, very heavy. I was up to kind of 100, the heaviest, because of course the scales wasn't my best friend. So the heaviest I remember was kind of like 143 or 145 kilos on the scales, you know,
How
and
tall are you?
6 foot. So it's a big old boy, but I was always
Yeah,
I was strong as a house, like of course, you know.
yeah.
But and then I kind of started getting towards 30, and I was like, I have to do something here because my self esteem was getting worse. You know, I was just like, it wasn't good. You know, you're kind of on this downhill slope, and eventually,
Mhm.
I never really hit rock bottom, but it was like I have to do something. So I set competing in a bodybuilding show as my kind of way to turn it around so much. You know, so that was kind of like a
Yeah.
3 year journey to get to there. It was only supposed to be one and done. Doing the muscle contest, did a pro straight into the pro qualifier because you didn't have to do the regional back then. You know, I said I go into the very very deep end, give it a go, and at least you know you get beaten by really really good guys. I was beaten by two current pros now, um, Dane Manson's and George Bear Ringer, I think it is, the Bavarian Bull. Exceptional physique, so to be able to stand with them was really cool. But then, of course, you get the little bug and it pulls you in. It's like, I wonder what would happen if I did this a little bit differently, and you want to do it again, you know. So it's tremendously, as you guys know, it's a tremendously emotional journey once you actually get there because it's not your 16 or 20 week prep. It's if for me it was all those years of
Yeah.
pouring all that negativity into the gym, all those negative emotions into the gym, you know, turn them into positivity on the day, and it all comes flooding back when you kind of do that first show. And I've done, I think I've only done like 8 shows. Every one of them bar one, I cried after. You know that feeling. It's like fucking so emotional. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you feel like you've let
I'm
people
excited.
down. You feel like you could have done more. There's excitement. There's kind of some pride. There's a little bit, you know, there's so much mixed emotions going on. And unless you have that next thing lined up, your next show or something, uh, it's tremendously difficult, you know. So I'm coming now to, so I'm a full, so for the last like 3 years, I've been doing the coaching full time. And
Mhm.
I mainly work with like lifestyle people because they see my story, like guys in their 30s and 40s. So it's tremendously fulfilling because most of them come to you with like, hey, I just want to be able to live a little bit longer. You know, we've got kind of guys that are quite obese and stuff. I just
Yeah.
want to be able to live longer. I want to just be able to play with my kids, this type of thing. So being able to help them in any way on their journey. And that's what I always say it is. I don't like this kind of idea of you're my client or whatever, you know. They obviously become friends and stuff, but it's like I'm doing the simplest thing in the world. At the very back of it, I'm just telling you to eat a little bit less, move a little bit more, and then showing you how to train. I think that's a huge thing. Being able to show someone how to train is the biggest thing that a coach can possibly do. But no coaches want to do it. You know, yeah, the good coaches do, because that's the time consuming part, right? Being able to go through form
Mhm.
analysis and everything. But now I have my last shows coming up. I'm doing my last little run and then hanging up the old trunks coming up here because I have arthritis, stage 4 arthritis in my left elbow.
Oof.
And it's kind of just absolutely, the surgeon told me after it, he said, the joint is goosed, find a new hobby. So I have to find a new hobby, you know?
Mhm.
That's
Is that,
heartbreaking.
do you reckon that's more from just the years of construction, or is it like a big injury or anything?
I actually fell on it probably around 4.5, 5 years ago when I was in construction. I fell directly
Mhm.
on the olecranon, like the point of the elbow. And what
Yeah.
happened, it's like it's post traumatic osteoarthritis. So what happened at the time, I never knew because I was chasing around from physio to physio, but it dislocated slightly at the time and relocated itself, but it knocked out some cartilage. So I'm like predisposed to osteoarthritis anyway. He said it's going to be in this elbow, and I can feel it starting to come in that elbow, but it's something I wouldn't rear its head to, like, you know, I'm 60 or 70, but that just completely exacerbated and shot the process off. So my range of motion is maybe 70 degrees. You know, that's all I have. I can't straighten the arm or
Yeah.
anything like that. So, but it makes this journey incredibly personal to me, and it makes kind of getting on stage even that more special because nobody kind of knows the kind of the pain, of course, but the pain isn't the bit. It's how I've had to adapt my training and everything around it. Like, I was developing tremendous imbalance in my back musculature and everything because the last thing my body wants to do is flex at this elbow. It does not want to move at the elbow. So it just
Mhm.
wants to, less elbow flexion that any way it can. So when it's pressing, it wants to move the whole shoulder girdle. When I'm pulling anything like a row or anything, it wants to move. Once again, it wants the lat to dominate. So I was getting this big imbalance in my back. So it's a really nice challenge. Of course, it can be frustrating, but then I always say perspective. We're all lucky as fuck to be able to do this. We're incredibly privileged to be able to do this. So you got to just love the challenge.
Yeah, and just to pivot back to kind of when you're talking about coming from being obese
Yeah,
into
Yeah,
bodybuilding, that is
I
something
wanted
like
to.
I've never been morbidly obese, like, but
Yeah,
yeah.
whenever I was in school, I was chunky. Like I'm
yeah.
5'9" and I was like 103,
Me
and
and
How
you, AJ.
yeah,
we
like
we
how
were
over
many
both.
all this was
how
it
ma-
you?
how many of us have come from kind of
Yeah,
negative body image issues? Either you're the skinny guy or you're the fat guy, and you want to
Yeah,
change that. You have something to prove. You want to change that. You look for validation. My thing is bodybuilding. When I got into it, I was this obese guy that didn't believe in himself, thought he was worthless, thought he no, how can anybody love me? And then all of a sudden, I started, even though I was eating loads, I was strong as hell. So people were kind of picking up and go, "Oh, it's the big guy, it's a strong guy," and that's validation, and that's like our dopamine. That's our little hit.
yeah,
We want more of it. That's what pulls us in hard into the sport. And then if you
yeah.
actually
I
become
think
if you actually become a good bodybuilder, you have all that. Just I want more. How do I get more of this validation?
yeah, but
for
I think
me,
there.
it was like we were. I was definitely overweight, and I was doing more powerlifting type training, and
Mm.
then went. And then me and AJ, me and Aaron, we went to the Arnold in like
Oh
2024,
yeah.
and I was like, I'm making the switch to bodybuilding. I haven't had any regrets since. It's just like, why would you
Oh,
not
it's
want to look
Yeah,
and feel far better? And
yeah.
I
like you're
think
still strong. It's not like you lose the strength when you lose body
Oh,
fat either.
you never should. All you lose maybe that bit of a leverage. Weight does move
Yeah.
weight a small bit on something like a deadlift or something,
Yeah.
right? That
But
counterweight, but
not to the degree that people I think make it out to be.
no, no,
Like
it's all mental. Everything
yeah.
here is we're being
yeah,
held back by ourselves the whole time. The you versus you element of bodybuilding is monstrous.
yeah.
And
I
until you have
wish.
something that holds you back, like with this elbow injury, like I always appreciated that we're being subconsciously guarded the whole time. But only really once I had this, I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe how much we're being held back by our subconscious. It's
Yeah, and I think
incredible.
I you nearly wish everyone could. Like I remember looking in the mirror and just thinking like, am I genetically predisposed to just be really fat my whole life? And
Yeah.
then I can also remember before like stepping on stage and like I was looking at photos of myself and just that feeling of like, holy shit, this is me. Like I'm still
Yeah.
that like really heavy person in my head, but like you look at that photos and you're like, holy shit, that's me. And like I wish
Yeah.
everyone could experience that because you know
Absolutely.
yourself whenever you speak to heavier people, you can tell that they think that could never be them,
Yeah.
but that's
Absolutely.
just all mental.
Our limits and beliefs that we build up over years. We all do
Yeah,
it. I can never
And
be that
bad
person.
habits
Yeah, of
uh,
course. That's all it is, habits
is
and
the
routines,
biggest
right?
one. Yeah,
yeah,
that's it. They fall into a routine, like and like you were saying, you're working on construction and stuff. Like I work on sites
Mm,
and stuff, and boys are just going up to the canteen and getting
yeah.
slices of pie or like
Yeah.
pizza and all the rest, like every day. And I'm just like, and they're talking about, oh, what are you having for dinner tonight? It's like, oh, Chinese, because that's just what
It's
they do every night.
that's
And
exactly
yeah,
it's
that's
like,
that's what I always say to people like clients and stuff are, we always I'm sure you guys always get the question as well, like how do you do it? How do you eat so many meals? How are you so
oh
structured?
yeah,
It's like if you told me I had to go and eat a chicken fillet roll every day, I had to go up to, the shop and get a chicken fillet roll, that would be hard as hell for me for a week or two until I got actually into that habit and routine of it. So
yeah.
it's just whatever you do, we're just like we're all so much creatures of habit. So
I feel it would almost be harder now for someone if someone was like, "Oh, go have a pizza like every
yeah, for
day." I
sure,
feel
yeah.
like it'd be harder now to do that than to eat chicken and rice because of how awful I would feel after eating
that
pizza every day.
Yeah.
that's the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing we always have to be like. I always preach to younger guys because I was like it as well. Just try to get rid away from the obsessive nature of bodybuilding. The balance is so hard to strike. I've struggled for years and years. Like I haven't missed a meal since I started bodybuilding, like 18 years, and that's pretty wild to think, like, but to become so obsessive because all we're seeing is Machiavelli motivation. You cannot miss, and we have Jordan Peters shouting at us, you cannot miss all this bullshit. Of course you can miss. Tell the truth. Look at the numbers of it. Of course you can. Well, what's a 600-calorie meal when you're eating 30 or 40,000 a month, like.
Mhm.
Yeah.
100%.
I feel like I came from the complete opposite spectrum of you guys. I was like 6'1" whenever I was like 16, 17, like 42 kilos.
Wow,
Like
really?
I
Wow,
was
42.
skin and bone. I remember I only started packing on a bit of size when I went to uni, and it was like
Yeah.
I had no money. The only thing I could afford was like the £2 frozen pizza from Tesco, and I had like 3 of those every night for dinner, and then cans of
Wow.
tuna with the microwavable bags of basmati. Like,
Mhm.
and then I came back. I think I was
I'm
62
still on
kilos.
those.
They're expensive as hell. They are, despite the ordinary type of
They're
chat.
like quite a pack.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You get 10 times
Then I
more and you're
came
just
back.
cook it up.
Yeah, I was silly. But no, I
But
came
but
back,
like
started with Neil, and then started eating properly, and yeah, built up.
if you think about it, guys, like how many bodybuilders do you know that don't come from like quite extreme body image issues? Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
never real.
I can't even think of one. Like everybody has their story. It always comes back to either you're overweight or you're on the skinnier side.
Yeah. Me and Aaron talk about this like a few times where
Mm,
you have the people who have just been in shape their entire lives and they're just
mm,
obviously genetically gifted in a way, and then they typically don't push themselves as hard to get to
absolutely.
that like
Yeah.
next level because they've never had to try to
It
get
comes
to that
it
like shape.
it comes
Comes
way
too
too
naturally
easy.
to them, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
There's
oh, like obviously like the top level people who see now, it's like I would say the top like 1% are obviously the ones who are genetically
that
gifted and
Yeah.
are a
and
wee bit
yeah.
mental.
Yeah,
The
yeah, yeah, yeah.
bodybuilders,
But
but
they're very few and far between. If it comes easy,
yes,
you
yes,
just
they're
take it.
rare. Well, when you
You take it for granted, right? That's what happens most. How
yeah,
many guys do
well,
we know? They're
yeah.
exceptional talents.
How many people are out there that if they applied themselves, they'd be Mr. Olympia?
Yeah, that's a very
Like,
interesting thing, right? At least they'd be
there's
absolutely
probably
dominant.
loads.
They'd be dominant fucking amateurs. That's for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like if you took everyone who was just the absolute genetic elite and had them do everything they needed to do, the top 10 Mr. Olympia wouldn't be top 10 Mr. Olympia probably. It'd probably be
Pro-
like another group
probably
of
not.
10 people.
Probably not. It's a very
Yeah.
interesting thing because I think that's why we always root for like even though of course like he has great genetics, like someone like James Hollingshead who was just an absolute grafter, or even Nick, like Nick's fighting against the old structure there, but he
Yeah.
just works so fucking hard.
I always say to people like I like Nick a lot. Like I think for like
Oh yeah,
for open bodybuilding, like you look at him, like you look at everyone else, you look at Derek, you look at Andrew, you look like obviously they're big and they're freaks, but like you look at Nick Walker and you're just like
oh
that's like it's inhuman.
That
It's
it's
is the
not
freak
wildly
normal.
factor.
impressive. It's wildly
Yeah, but that's
impressive.
like
Like
that's what
muscle per
open
square
should be.
inch. Oh yeah, muscle per
Yeah.
square inch. Nobody comes near. Not Samson doesn't even touch him.
No,
Muscle per square
Yeah.
inch.
I don't
If
think
his
so.
waist was 4 inches shorter, he'd be an 8-time Mr. Olympia
I
Yeah.
or
actually think he's
smaller.
brought his waist in a bit somehow this
Yeah,
How
past
he
that
last
last
few
show he
weeks.
did.
poses,
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
abdominal control is incredible. His new
Vac,
coach
vac,
has him.
vacuums are the one for me. Like I always have a big tree trunk waist as well. But since I started
Mm.
vacuuming, it's just been John Meadows used to always say, I don't know if you ever heard him. He used to think that he said it doesn't make any sense because of course it doesn't. But if you vacuum, you'll have a tighter waist. It somehow gets smaller. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But I can agree with that after since I kind of last whatever it is 3 years been doing them.
Yeah, I've always said to people like I would like sing John Meadows' praise because if you
That's
look
brilliant.
back at a lot of John Meadows' old stuff, the new kind of research and stuff that comes out
So
now
Mm.
usually supports what he said back then,
yeah,
except he just said, try this, it feels good.
Oh,
yeah,
Uh,
literally.
love
but
that. Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah, this feels good. Oh, this really works for a lot of my clients. And then
yeah.
now there's like a lot of actual evidence to like back it up.
yeah,
Oh,
But like
he
you
was
said
he
it
was
10,
brilliant.
15 years ago.
he was, wasn't afraid to go against it. Like he's like a Mike Menzer character. He's a Dorian character
Yeah.
who, all this is out there. Everybody's doing the exact same thing. Like with Dorian, all the guys in America are doing the exact same kind of training, all that high volume stuff. And he says, no, I'll go do my own stuff over here. Just that
Yeah.
that independent thought that's completely lacking these days in people.
Yeah. I think what made John Meadows good as well was he was such like a humble person, and he was like a
Yeah,
real like family man as well. So it was like
yeah,
just a really likable guy, and then you felt like he was just like the old, really knowledgeable guy in the gym giving you a bit of advice whenever you're watching
yeah,
his videos, and you're like, you know what, maybe I will give it a go, and then it
yeah.
worked.
But even his story, like, how many times, like, what was he, about 20 years trying to become a pro, like, and then he finally got
Yeah,
there, and then he finally did the Arnold. Wasn't he from Columbus? And he finally did it there, and
yeah,
yeah, you gotta root for someone like that. That genetics are a little bit against him right at the very top, but he just keeps it going. Like,
That's it. Hard work pays
100%.
off. I just love the end of all his YouTube videos, and he just like has his son do like yo-yo tricks.
yeah,
It's just like
yeah.
super wholesome. You're like, go ahead, do your trick.
Yeah, it was a sad end for him though. Way he went.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That wasn't even that long ago. What was that, about 2 years ago or so?
It's probably a
No,
little
it's
longer. I think,
longer.
yeah, you'd
Yeah,
Was
shock
it?
yourself,
I
wouldn't
think
you? Yeah, it's one.
maybe like 6 or 7 years ago now.
Yeah,
If I was
it's
to guess.
definitely one of these things that make you feel old when you find out how was that 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it that long ago? Damn.
Mm.
So how
That's
have you
quite crazy.
to pivot again there? How have you adapted your training? Because obviously you were speaking a little bit on DM there about the kind of blood flow restriction stuff.
Oh yeah,
Is that like
love
a big part of your training now?
my arm training. So like I used to always just do like I used to be a bro split guy, and then I was adamant that was the way, had to be the way. But then I always like to keep as open minded as I possibly can. So then I went to push pull legs, where I'd finish off triceps and biceps at the end of my push and pull. But now I've separated out into an arm day. I don't think anybody should do an arm day unless you have like some sort of an injury that you want to take a little bit of stress off it. But the thing is with it, right? So like it's osteoarthritis. It's like bone formation. There's little to no cartilage, but there's like osteophytes within the joint itself. So my subconscious will never want to push anywhere near the end point. So say if my end point is say of extension it's probably around 35-ish degrees now. It doesn't want to go anywhere near that. So the muscle just tightens up. It's like, no, stay away from that. So the heavier the load is, the more it's going to resist pushing towards that bone on bone or end point. So I can never actually contract the muscle at all, right? So when I'm doing extensions, bicep curls are the hardest thing to pull. It just is like absolutely no way are we going near that end point, that bone on bone, because obviously
Yeah.
it associates pain's bad, stop. So in time, the range of motion gets less and less and less. I actually saw a really scary thing with a lady that has it, and she could only move around that much, maybe like 10 degrees of motion with it. But so with the blood flow restriction, the occlusion training, it's been absolutely incredible for me. So I started using it post surgery. I've had 2 surgeries on it now. The first one was absolutely useless. Second one was slight bit better, but it just caused so much atrophy because he did absolutely everything he could do. Like he took a little bit off the humerus, like anything he could do to make the joint actually move. So it took a little bit off the humerus. They moved the ulnar nerve. So my funny bone isn't my funny bone anymore. It's now on the side of my arm here. They took a little ligament out as well, which kind of affects the stability at the top of stuff. But
Mhm.
there was huge atrophy. So I went in, start straight away using the blood flow restriction. First of all, I did the what do you call it, the training. I trained the one side of my body to kind of keep the muscle on the other side, like Dorian used to do
Yeah,
when he had
yeah,
that. But the blood flow was amazing because you can use about half the load and get an even better stimulus. So after I trained with those cuffs, like I could never activate my lateral head of my triceps because I couldn't push into it far enough, right? I could never contract it. But when I
Mhm.
use those blood flow restriction cuffs, my whole tricep is absolutely killing me the next day. Good old DOMs, they definitely mean something. I know science will tell us they don't, but science don't train like bodybuilders, tell you. But
yeah,
they really are. They're absolutely incredible. I've noticed that arms come back because last year when I competed, every time I look at the pictures, I'm like, oh, my arm, it's bloody tiny, because it never came back the way I wanted to. But I think I've
yeah,
got the size properly back in it now. Because this is the funny thing about this as well, guys. That arm is the side I pose on all the time as well. And
Mhm.
I haven't been able to do a full range of motion with that arm for 4.5-ish years, maybe 5 years, and it's my dominant arm. How wild that is.
Yeah.
Not And I'm not saying full range of motion training is bad or anything, but it just kind of it makes you kind of think about it, right?
Yeah.
But the blood flow is incredible, though. Really, really, really effective. I got them for the legs as well. So I think anybody with any kind of joint issues, they're just a complete game changer. What I'd love to do with them and what I want to trial with them, I'm going to trial it with the legs. I think I think it would be beneficial to any bodybuilder, right? Because the idea of the blood flow restriction is that we're really kind of hammering the metabolic stress side of the hypertrophy, right? You know,
Yeah.
because we're getting that huge kind of pump and kind of stretching the fascia and all that kind of stuff. So I think in conjunction, so what I do with my legs is I'll do my squat movement, my RDL movement without the cuffs, and then I'll do my isolations with the cuffs. So you're getting best of both worlds. You're really hammering, really, really as much mechanical tension as possible
Yeah.
with the first two movements, and then you're pushing hard on the metabolic stress side of it with the second two. So I think that combination type training has incredible scope, for any bodybuilder. There's something I want to do when I stop competitively bodybuilding, is to look at these different modalities. But I think that combination will be incredible,
Yeah, because I remember reading, if you remember them, the 3D muscle journey.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
remember read I remember reading their book, and they were big on, obviously, mechanical tension is the primary driver of growth, but
Mm,
they talked a lot about metabolic stress, whereas these kind of
it's huge.
newer studies that everyone's talking about is, the pump doesn't really mean anything, DOMs don't
As
mean anything, metabolic stress, and it's like, if you just look at, like, disregard all the science and just listen to, actually, what's the word I'm
anecdotal
looking for,
evidence.
like, anecdotal, yeah. It's
Mm.
so many of these guys at the top. It's like, oh well, I get a really good pump, and
Ask
they
it.
grew.
Any
That's
good
like,
any good bodybuilder. When you talk to any good bodybuilder, they always come back to the same things, right? The pump is most definitely important. DOMs are most definitely important, right? But they all say the same thing. It's when I started to, different ways. That when I started to slow the movements down, when I started to get a better mind muscle connection, when I started to get a better, whatever phrase they use, they're all pointing to the same thing. That training skill is tremendously important. So it's not just about there going in there and moving weights. How you move it is the absolute game changer. It's not how much more drugs you take, how much more food you take, how much more volume you use, but it's how you actually move that weight is incredibly important, right? When we look at our
Yeah.
physiques and we look at our relative weaknesses, all of our relative aesthetic weaknesses are physical weaknesses because of how our body wants to move. So unless we start to move differently, we'll never ever change these, right? It's always the same. Lower lats missing on so many. The actual thickness of the lower lats missing on so many amateur bodybuilders. Rear delts, hamstrings, very very unusual to see. Several guys with very good hamstrings at a bodybuilding show because it's how we move, right? We go through life. You look at a little baby, you watch them squat. They have perfect muscular balance. They squat absolutely perfectly. As we move through life, we start to, preferentially move. Everything's forward, forward, forward. We play sports and stuff. It's quads, quads, quads. We become quad dominant. We don't appreciate, once we go into the gym and start in the gym, we don't appreciate that training's a skill. So we get in on a leg press, we get in on a squat movement. We go around a few machines until we find one we're strong at, okay, and that we like, and we put loads of weight on it, and then we just keep on moving to our strengths. We're like, our quads are strong, so our body will want to set up with a stance that will preferent or bias the quads, and then we have this weakness that proliferates itself over time with the hamstrings and the glutes. And then same thing when we look at elderly people, the poor things when they're trying to sit down into a chair and they can't sit back down into a chair because their glutes and hamstrings have atrophied because they don't use them, right? If you don't use it, you lose it, you know?
yeah,
No, that's what they say. They say weight training's the fountain of youth.
Oh
You
yeah,
like
for sure.
just have to keep lifting weights and you'll be sweet. Like even for like bone density, like everything.
Yeah,
Like how many like I think the main cause of death in old people is falls because they fall
yeah,
and break something and then they just can't recover from it. And it's because their
yeah.
bones are just so like fragile.
The, the
There's just
best thing
no
that
density there.
the best thing that we could teach any of our kind of elderly relatives or friends or anything
Mhm.
would be how to do a proper squat movement to get into a deep squat position and to keep that
Mhm.
musculature. We lose it, right? Babies, perfect. The perfect bodybuilders always say about babies. They have perfect mobility, perfect muscular balance, and all they do is they eat and they sleep. The perfect bodybuilders. Watch them. That's how
yeah,
you become a good bodybuilder.
yeah,
Sounds about right. It's funny
yeah.
how you were
Funny enough,
saying about people like preference their quads when going forward. I know you
Mm,
know my coach Neil Rennie. He has
yeah.
quite bad like tendonitis in his knees, and you
Mm,
can tell his glutes and hamstrings are so like dominant
exceptional.
in
Yeah,
Yeah,
comparison to his
exceptional.
Neil's
quads.
Mm,
But that is genuinely because he is like using more hamstring and quad and his or hamstring and glute in his day-to-day movements, because
yeah.
when he sits up off the sofa, like I've seen him do it before, he doesn't go into a squat position. He slides and kind of hamstrings curls himself up. Like
Really.
I see what you mean by like people
Yeah.
are more dominant on their quads squatting up, but he like
L-
hamstring curls himself up. Like you can see it. It makes a lot of
L-
sense when you put it in perspective.
it's
like when
pretty
you
interesting to
watch,
like him. Sorry,
uh,
it's
go
pretty
on.
interesting just to like someone like that who can't really use his claws because of like his injury, like just how much more dominant that muscle group has become because he's had to be more
Mm,
reliant on it.
yeah,
Like
no,
that
it's
is.
subconscious. The subconscious goes to it every time. I did this
Mm.
incredibly mirror therapy. I don't know. You guys ever heard of it? No. It's it's what the eye opening thing when I was in after my second surgery with the occupational
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
therapist. It's called used with like people with phantom limb syndrome or
Right.
whatever
Yeah.
you would call it. So
Hmm.
the lady put a mirror between my legs, right, and I was either side of it flexing, right, trying to flex my elbow right into like a bicep curl. And what I was doing was I'd look into the mirror from this side, which was showing me the good side moving, right? So I was tricking my own brain into moving this to stop guarding the musculature on this side. And within
Mm.
10 minutes of doing it, I got another 20 degrees of motion because my subconscious was guarding it. Isn't that wild? Like not 2 degrees,
Yeah.
20 degrees more. And that
It's
once I
incredible.
saw that, I was like, oh my God. Because you'd always know, like we all know, right, we're being subconsciously guarded. Another
Yeah.
incredible thing is if you guys ever heard of the central governor theory, right? It's now it is a theory, but it's very well got. That this idea of hysterical strength and a life or death situation where like say God forbid, obviously a mother can lift a car off her child or
Hmm.
whatever. So that's
Yeah.
in this theory, right? That's all about subconscious guarding. It's saying that in that situation, her cortisol spikes, her adrenaline spikes, which allows her to push back against her subconscious guarding. She can use 100% of her muscle capacity. But that theory says that the average person can only use, I think it's either 20 to 30 or 30 to 40. It's something incredibly low. And then
Hmm.
even a well trained athlete, it's 70 to 80%. So that
Yeah.
means like no matter if we're in a calorie deficit or a surplus, we can always be if we say, hey, look, I could really we can control my mind. I'm 70%. Well, you can go in and be 70.1%. So you should never plateau if you
Yeah.
appreciate that theory, and just shows how strong the subconscious is, though.
It was. I think it was it Eddie Hall when he went to pull 500
Yeah,
kilo. He actually had someone hypnotize him.
yeah.
That like
It's
he
the
would think
sports
is. Yeah. So he thought.
psychologist, and he was told to think
Yeah.
about his children.
Yes.
That there was harm coming to them, and that's the
Yeah.
exact
They're
same
like
thing. So
trapped in a
it's
car or something.
yeah, so it
Yeah.
spiked these
I thought.
cortisol. I do that the whole time, and I'm sure we all do it, right? That's the beauty of training, that we can use our negative emotions. We've had a shit day, something happens in work with a friendship, relationship, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We can go in there, we spike our cortisol, we listen to some lovely emotional music, which I always do all the time. You get pumped up with the old power ballads, and your cortisol spikes your adrenaline, and you're going to be strong as hell because of that, right? Because you're overcoming your subconscious. You're putting yourself into that kind of fight or flight mode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I always tell people like the difference it makes between like just going into a set and going into a set pissed off.
Oh yeah,
Like
for sure.
you're getting a good few more reps if you're going into
Abs-
it pissed off.
Oh, absolutely. I
absolutely.
remember the time
It's
I crashed my first car. I went straight to the gym. My
Yeah.
deadlift on
yeah.
rep max was like 182.5, and I did 3 sets of 3 with 180. And I was like, oh,
Wow.
nice.
Oh, it's wild.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what we're doing, right? We're spiking our cortisol. So that's the beauty of it. We go to the gym. Gym is all of our kind of, we always say therapy and stuff like, but it's like our meditation. We can go in and turn whatever negative emotions we have directly
Mhm.
straight into positivity of a progression, a novel stimulus that we know that moves us forward in our muscularity. So the dopamine hit that we get off that, the endorphins we get off that, it's
Yeah,
a beautiful thing,
I know. It's funny. It's like well, it sounds like it would be counterproductive, but it's not. You're going in,
Oh
you like
no.
you
Yeah.
think about something that pisses you off or upsets you, and you hit a great set, and then you leave the
Yeah.
gym being like, I feel great because I had a good session.
You feel that, but
Like
that negativity is straight away lifted off you then. You know,
Yeah.
it's you're turning it into positivity straight away. So that's why it's like our meditation. That's what Dorian used to say. Remember, you go in there, there's like 2 hours or whatever it was. He's meditation. You know,
Do you ever try to you ever try to like summon that, like piss yourself off, and then you have a
all the
bad
time.
set, and then you're just
Never.
like,
It's
fuck,
always good.
worse.
Yeah. No, it's always a good set. I'm telling you, I always have my little things. Like I have my god kids on my arm here, so I'm always just thinking about them before I do a set. I always like touch my tattoo here of them, things like that. Like always get me into the right kind of
Yeah.
frame of mind.
You can see the difference in someone straight away, if especially in progression or just watching them train. Is
Mm,
are they going through the exercise, or are they just actually mentally pushing themselves? You see
Yeah.
people, and it's
oh
as
yeah.
soon as the set gets hard, you can tell who's there mentally
Yeah.
to fight through the set, and the set's done when they're done, or the people who just
Well,
like it's hard now, I'm done. You can
it's
see who can push through and who can't.
it's the idea of pain being hugely emotional. That's why some
Yeah.
people have really low pain thresholds and everything. They've never pushed themselves, and I think there is something, as I'm sure you guys see this and think about this as well, that the more kind of shit you've been through, you're probably going to be a better bodybuilder. If you're used to comfort your whole life, I think back to, some emotional things, but like being in construction, you're getting hammered, you're pouring a concrete floor, you're wheeling barrows all day, it's raining on you. You can get frustrated, or you just keep on going. You keep that patience, and that plays over lovely into bodybuilding. But it's kind of keep on taking hits. You take hits and you keep on
I
going.
I think that applies to like any sport, like any top level athlete, like boxer, MMA, like
Oh
whatever it
yeah,
is. Like a lot of those guys come from like really like rough,
Yeah.
bad childhoods,
I
and
can't
and
then
remember
firing them.
that's the fuel. Yeah,
what
that's
I
the
remember
fuel.
watching a podcast, and they were saying that the saying the guy said was really good. He said the worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you. So the worst thing
Mm,
that's ever happened, someone could be like they spilled the coffee down themselves, or
mm,
it's
Yeah,
some person who's been homeless, had to
yeah,
graft their way back up. It's
yeah.
still the worst thing that's ever happened to that person. So like mentally in their head, say something worse than the coffee being spilt on them happens, they can't really handle it.
Mm,
Whereas the other person who's had to kind of graft their way up, something bad happens is it's like
yeah, it's nothing.
yeah.
It's
I've
it's
had
it's
way harder
Yeah,
happen to me. Like
yeah.
that's just
Doesn't
yeah,
it's what
stop them
it's
every
water off.
time.
Yeah,
yeah.
and it comes down to
Yeah,
this. I'm sure you guys get as well. I did a little reel on it during the week, but it's like someone will ask you like, how do you get motivated for going to the gym all the time and stuff? And then my answer to it is I've never met a good bodybuilder who hasn't got an absolute burning desire in them to go in and absolutely kill themselves every session.
yeah,
No good bodybuilder, but obviously in a way that because what we do is we know if we have a novel stimulus, we're moving forward and what we're trying to do and what we want to do. So like I go in there, like I've never not wanted to train, never in my life. I want to go in there and I fucking love it, So it's yeah, it's never to ask that question. I think you'll never ever be a good bodybuilder. You can be,
yeah. I think
decent
if you
enough,
ever
but
have, I think if you ever have to take an extra rest day or something a day, like there's a day you just like can't train, that
mm,
desire to go into the gym again that
oh
next day
yeah,
is like so great. It's like you don't even like my coach made me take an extra rest day like a couple of weeks ago,
mm,
and it was just like I just got that like itchy feeling where there was like during COVID, like not being able to train like during COVID, like that was
oh yeah. What it took from us, eh?
hectic.
Uh,
Yeah.
I think the big part of it for me anyways is, and like why I don't find it hard to stick to a diet or find it hard to go and train is I always want that sense of progression of taking a step forward. So I know if I do all these things that I have to do to a T, I am guaranteeing that I am
Absolutely.
progressing and taking a step forward. So it's never a case of, well, if I have this or don't do this, like I don't
Well,
know if I'm going forward or I'm not going forward. Whereas if I do everything that I know I need to do, I am going forward.
it's like I always say as well about kind of fitness and bodybuilding. That it's the only thing that whatever we put in, whatever effort we put, if we put in 80% or 100%, we will get everything of that back. And you can't say that about anything else in life.
Mm.
Friendships, work. You could absolutely kill yourself in work, be doing extra hours all the time, and then nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah.
Relationships,
Yeah.
whatever it is, But the only thing that we can go in, if we give whatever we give to our fitness, we get back straight away. We get the exact
Yeah.
same thing back, you know?
Yeah.
And that 20% difference is like massive. That's night and day as well.
Oh
I think
yeah.
Yeah.
you can really tell the difference between going 80 and going 100 in terms of training and bodybuilding.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I was definitely going more 70, 80% for a while. And then in September last year, I've been pretty 100% on the like fit down since, and it's the most and best progress I've definitely ever made.
Oh
And
yeah.
it was actually shocking to me how much that like 20% like increase actually made.
And it carries over to every aspect of your life. Like I was always someone who wouldn't put any effort in school. I wouldn't put any effort in this or that. But then once you see that act of, oh, I put effort in, I've got more result from this. It's almost like, what if I put effort into other stuff as well?
Oh yeah.
And like that's
Yeah.
something I found, recently with doing things like this, the social media, going to more events, meeting more people, actually being willing to talk to more people and not be kind of just a secluded, unsociable person. It's like the more effort you put into any aspect of your life, I feel like you get that reward back because
Definitely.
you've built that up from going to the gym and doing that.
Oh, definitely. What bodybuilding teaches us, persistence, delayed gratification, hard work, all these incredible kind of life lessons and characteristics. So, if we could apply ourselves to any business the way we apply ourselves to bodybuilding, we'd be successful in anything we do.
100%.
I feel like you can see it more in like the younger generation, like people my age, I suppose you could say. It's like there's guys that went to school with like me, and
Mm,
my attitude towards life going forward is so different from them. Not to like
mm,
hype myself up in any way, but I do have aspirations. And then like
Dog on.
there's guys that I know that are pretty comfortable with working in the spar, and you're like,
yeah,
what are you doing? Like,
yeah,
I want progression. Those guys didn't go to the gym. They don't really have that grinding mindset. And it's like they're comfortable living in a shithole with a dead end job. And you're like,
it's
oh,
it's
It's
come
it's
on.
pretty.
I think a big part of that is though I've watched loads of like mindset stuff, and I remember a thing watching it, and it was like your brain is far more comfortable knowing that something's not that good than just the unknown. Like they done studies where it was like, I can guarantee you 100% you'll get shocked, or there's a 50% chance you'll get shocked or you won't. And the people who didn't know that they were gonna experience pain had far higher stress than the people who knew they were gonna experience pain anyways.
Mm,
So it's just that like people are just so scared of the unknown that they will just kind of accept what is going on rather than like, and that's where it comes from, that they were to pivot way back to the people who are very overweight. It's like
mm.
they know what they're doing, they know it's not productive for them, but that unknown of like doing something they've never done before, it's just like
Fear
too
cripples us all.
scary for them. Yeah.
Fear cripples us all, and it crippled me during my 20s. Absolutely, I was afraid of my shadow. And it
Hmm.
just obviously just compounds. The more you let it, longer you let it go on, the worse that fear gets and those insecurities get. So
Yeah.
it's when you look at it, it's kind of like when you go through it, it's like, okay, this makes complete sense. But when you step back from it, it's all just about exposure. Like I remember the
Yeah.
first time I brought my tripod into the gym, I was so afraid to set it up. I was wondering what this person taught, that person taught, and I had it in my bag and for about 20 minutes, and I was afraid to take the bloody thing out. And now I don't care, right? Because if you think about anybody that would judge you for trying to better yourself, they're a pretty nasty person, right? You don't want to
Hmm.
know them anyway, and their judgment on you should never affect you. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, just exposure. Then once I did it once, I did that once again. That feel that weight lifted off. Once I took out my tripod and I set it up, and I was like, I'm doing this anyway. And you go and do it the next day, and you don't mind. The next day, it's the easiest thing in the world. It's like bodybuilding, stepping on the stage for the first time. My God, was I nervous. It's so alien,
Yeah.
so alien. And then after a while, you do it once or twice. It's like, you get such a great kind of bit of pride, I suppose, or whatever you'd say about it. That hey, I'm
Mhm.
overcoming my fears here. And that's what life's all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not being suppressed by your fears. And that's why I think more so like I love a good quote and all this kind of life is short. Give it a bloody go. all this stuff. Because for years and years, I would never give it a go. I was afraid of my life. Never give it a
Yeah.
go, So to push yourself is, just push yourself to be uncomfortable all the time. And once again, what shows us that? Bodybuilding,
Yeah.
every set we go into, we push beyond where we've never been before. And what a life lesson that is.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
never gets easier. It's always like just as hard. Yeah.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. It's yeah, what a sport. What a sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It is
just more
fun that way. Like it would, I feel like it would be boring if it got easier.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I
for
don't think
sure.
it would be. It wouldn't be as addictive if you like got easier.
Addictive. Addictive is the word, but we'll call it
Yeah,
obsession, a good obsession. Addictive is a
yeah.
is a harsh word.
It's a healthy obsession. Like the amount of people, the amount of people will say to you, like they'll try to like pass judgment on you because you're eating chicken and rice and stuff every day, and it's
Mm.
just like, yeah, like you're
Well,
eating Chinese every day. Like, what do you mean? Like,
this
why? Like,
this
I don't
this is
say
it.
anything to you. I don't say
Yeah.
anything to them about their eating
Absolutely.
habits, even though like I see them do it every day. But like for some reason they feel okay to say something to me. But
Well, it's a very Irish thing, I think. It's the old good old begrudgery. If they see you getting in shape and they're like, "Geez, I'd love to be in shape," and they see you doing it, how would
mm,
they feel? How do they feel better about themselves? They kind of bring you down and try to if they try and stop you doing it, so you come back to
yeah,
their level. Then it's like, grand, I don't have to do anything now. I'm back. We're all on the same level. It's cool. He's not getting ahead of me. I don't have to pull him back.
yeah. Yeah, it's a big reflection of yourself or themself. Like I
Their
feel
selves,
now,
yeah,
yeah,
their
like
insecurities.
whenever, yeah, even like non-bodybuilding related, when I see someone that I know trying to do something that's like pushing them out of the comfort zone, I think like
Mm,
fair play to them, whether it's doing their own little business or
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
running a
100%.
marathon or whatever. I just think, you know what, fair play to
Yeah,
you
that's
because
cool.
I can
Yeah,
tell like you're passionate about something and you're trying to do it. Like
yeah,
trying is so
absolutely.
much cooler than not doing anything at all.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely. And we appreciate that because, I'm sure there's been times in our lives where we're afraid to try, you know.
Yeah,
But then
100%.
once
I
we
get
once
it.
you
Big
get
time.
to the point of you actually do try, then you appreciate anybody that is making that same effort,
Yeah.
Mhm. Swinging back to
Even
Calvin's
even
point,
starting
where people
this,
were saying along the lines of like you eat chicken and rice every day, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
you eat Chinese every day. It's got to the point where eating healthy is now considered a diet when it just should
Yeah,
be
it's wild.
normal.
yeah,
It's
Yeah.
Like,
wild.
why is it viewed that way? Like, why can't you have chicken and rice, mince and
It's,
pasta, and then oats? Like, why is that a diet? Why can that not just
but
be,
isn't it wild, guys, that we can never talk about anybody's kind of food habits, right? If there's a drug addiction or dependency on drugs or alcohol, no problem, we can say it. But if there's some sort of dependency or a poor relationship with food,
yeah,
we're buzzkills. You can't say that. Just let them have a bit of fun. They're just trying to, slowly kill themselves with their terrible eating habits. But we can't say
enjoy
anything.
themselves?
It's a completely
Yeah.
taboo. Yeah, enjoy themselves. That's what the big cover is, and
Yeah.
that's not going against balance. But if someone has an absolute, terrible diet, you know, why can't we
yeah.
say something? Why can't we help that person, right?
Yeah.
Or just
It
educate that
almost feels
person?
somewhat taboo to say something about them.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah. You're
you're not meant to, or something.
you're
In
the
today's
evil one,
age.
right? And we all have in some way negative kind of relationships with food. Do we go the opposite way, that we're so obsessive that we're afraid to eat off our plans and stuff? Absolutely.
Mhm.
Like if you look at it, the eating habits of a bodybuilder, it's
Yeah,
what do they call it? It's it's almost like an eating disorder, right? That
Yeah.
we're afraid to eat these bad foods and stuff,
Mhm.
especially when we're younger. Once again, when Machiavelli's shouting at us that we can't miss and stuff.
Yeah.
So we just need to be careful there as well. We have our little
Yeah.
our eating disorders as well,
Yeah.
disordered
I
eating.
never real. I used to the delivery drive for Asda, so I'd
Oh
obviously
yeah,
see people's like shops that they were doing, and that
yeah.
was such an eye opener for me of like thinking like obviously the rest of my family aren't bodybuilders, and I wouldn't call their diet good by any means, but
Mm,
just seeing the kind of average of what like most people eat, I was like, this is awful. Like
it's
some
wild, yeah.
people's diet is genuinely like scary.
We're never taught it though. I don't know if you guys are taught it up north there, but we never learn nutrition. You have to go. I think in
yeah.
home
No, you
economics
don't.
they do a small bit of nutrition, but we never are
Yeah,
taught nutrition in school at all. So we
no.
just
Not
we're
up
just
here
working
either.
off of what tastes good, and you might hear that protein's good, so you eat a protein yogurt or something like this or whatever. But we're not.
Yeah.
Why aren't we taught that in school? Like, it should be surely. That's why when you see like what I always struggle with is like, say you're behind somebody in the supermarket and the parents are obese or whatever, and you can see their child is clearly as well. But then you look at the food that they're putting up onto that belt, and it's just like, how can you do this to your child? This is bloody cruelty. Educate yourself on nutrition. The difficulties that you went through. Kids are cruel as hell. They'll pick on any
Yeah.
child that's there. So why would you subject your own child to that? When
Yeah,
you
the
went through it.
average,
Educate
And
yourself.
when you can see it
the,
clear as
the
day as well,
yeah, the,
like
Yeah.
sometimes you wonder, can they not actually just look at the child and think like a child is not meant to be that big?
Yeah, it's
but there's
shocking.
now, I think now there's so many kids that are kind of that size that like they blend in
Mm,
almost.
It's
So
almost
it's like
normalized to an
you're
extent.
like, yeah, so you're like, and then there's the whole, you're fat phobic and all that stuff. Like it's like I was saying, like it's taboo almost to like talk
Too
about
many
it.
cover-ups.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
people are just lazy, and then people's like the average person's understanding of like macros and calories is it's insane. Like they don't have
yeah.
a
Mind-blowing.
It's
clue. Um,
it's wild though, isn't it? It's such a basic thing to teach somebody in school, like or
Mhm.
to a new parent to go, put them on a small little nutrition course or give them, an online
mm,
course in nutrition or something. It'd be the
Yeah,
easiest thing in the
no,
world. This is what you put on the child's plate, not all
yeah,
this processed crap that you're putting on the plate.
yeah,
And then of course we have like the GLP-1s are just absolutely destroying people now as well, right? You know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just like that's the biggest thing I see is I put a reel up about it there a while ago. Is the amount of people who are like, oh, I'm on Reda or whatever GLP
Mm,
they're on, but it's like they're eating one meal a day and just
that's
like this Reda, and it's like you're
the muscle loss.
you're ruining your body. Like you're
Oh,
not. You may be losing weight, but you are like
they're
from a
malnourished.
nutrition standpoint, yeah, they're
yeah,
they're
It's
malnourishing themselves
it's very
without
simple.
feeling the hunger.
It's very simple what happens. You have somebody that takes the GLP-1, they're going from eating 3,000 plus calories of absolute junk and barely meeting their nutritional needs to eating 1,000 calories of that same junk and becoming malnourished because they're nowhere near their nutritional needs. And that's why they're losing all the muscle, right? And then, of course, they're not weight training. So there's no stimulus to keep that muscle, but
Yeah,
they're malnourished, So that's why they just look like absolutely melted,
yeah, and then they'll come out and blame the GLP-1, which
Mm.
it
that they've
it
chosen to
just
take.
it's accentuating what your poor habits have done.
Yeah, it's
Like
wild. We like with our cars, like they're petrol or diesel. We put petrol or diesel into them. With our bodies, nobody gives a crap. Like put anything into it. Sure, if it tastes
yeah,
good, throw it in there. Sure, you know.
Yeah.
literally.
I
One
was
thing
to
I've seen
actually
you do
add to that
was it?
topic about you delivering food to houses. I think I'm in a pretty good situation where it's just me and Mia, both coached by the same coach, similar meal plans. Like you
Yeah,
open that
there's
fridge,
no
you only see cooked chicken, raw chicken, Greek yogurt. Like I can't
zero temptation.
open the fridge for a snack. There is nothing. Like I guess I got quite lucky that way.
I liked a little bit of temptation though. You see, when my family have a load of biscuits and stuff out, and I'm eating my meal. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm not eating that. I get a little bit of like
yeah.
a
Yo,
kick out of
you
that.
have you get a wee bit of us.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
like,
more
I'm a
locked
lot,
in than
I'm
you are.
better.
Satisfaction.
Yeah, yeah, totally,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Bit of a
Look at you,
God
disgusting
complex.
pigs eating your biscuits.
Oh, my first
That's
growing up, I
actually like
remember sitting
that is
down
one
eating
of the things
chicken and
that
rice. And my parents brought back a Domino's pizza and they're like waving in my face. And I
Uh,
was like, oh, I'm not fat, just taking the piss. Oh, it
Yeah.
was
that's one of the
bad
things that
though.
like almost motivates me is like I love the fact that I know other people mentally can't do this.
mm,
Like I like the thought that I'm doing this, and I know for a fact if you tried to do it, you would fail. Like that's you know
Mhm.
because I don't think anyone
yes.
can do it. Like you say, like
Oh
anyone
God,
can
no.
do it, but I think you have to be trained into doing it, or you have to really want to do it. I think to get to like
It's the really want to do it part. Most people don't want to do it. They
yeah,
want the results, but they don't want to do take the actual
yeah.
process, right?
Like I'm 2 weeks out at the minute, and me and AJ were actually talking today about this. How like someone else we know, like they just don't really have like they're competing, but they don't have maybe as much muscle mass to really bring in that like leanness to them that they
Mm,
might need to have. But it's just because they just don't. They're just not holding enough muscle in their lower body, so it
mm,
just looks way softer than the rest of them. But uh, and then we're also talking about like, yes, like what way would he come in and stuff, but then he also, has been known to, binge a wee bit like during his prep and stuff, and he's like, doesn't he's just doing it for the experience. He's not doing it because he wants to be a bodybuilder or wants to
Yeah.
Yeah.
win. Whereas then me and AJ were talking about it, and I was just like, fuck, like I wouldn't do it because like I know like if I do that, like that'll be the difference between that 1 or 2% being better. And if I'm
Mm.
1 or 2, like, and then that difference could, change, like, put me up a place or down a place if I'm, not on the ball.
I'm
Absolutely.
genuinely worried for him post show though. Like,
Oh, he's going to binge out. He's going to get so fat after
yeah,
the show. I know for a fact he's just going to be like, it's done, and then
yeah,
binge.
I
Touching on
think
a point
I
that
think
you
that's
made.
always good. I think people need to make their mistakes though. Like I know I remember after my first show, like I went down to get a donut. They only had a pack of six, and I hammered all six of them. But you learn from that,
yeah,
you learn from your mistakes, and then it's like I'm not doing that next time. I felt absolutely terrible, like
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I
100%.
was going to say, touch
I'm,
on the point Callum made, where it was like, if I eat that, that's a place that I'm dropping. I knew who I
yeah,
was
Mm,
going up against in my first timers bodybuilding show. Els
yeah.
mm,
Brown, if you don't know him, Neil's client,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
phenomenal, one of the twins. And I was like, okay, I'm going to stick to this. I'm going to be the athlete. I'm going to follow the coach's orders to every fine detail.
yeah.
Because if he doesn't, I might have a chance. I didn't have a chance, but I thought to myself, if he doesn't follow it and I do, I could have a chance.
Yeah,
Still got
that's
smoked
Yeah.
anyway, and
Like
I know for a
he,
fact he had cookies. But that's it.
yeah.
That's genetics.
I think that's just the sense of knowing as well. Like the two points touching this. I remember I knew a guy who I was competing against, and I knew he was about twice the size of me. And I thought, well, I am going to have to come in absolutely skinned if I even want to come close to beating this guy. So I'm going to do every single thing in my power to bring my best physique. And then if he beats me, I know there's nothing more I could have
Yeah.
done. And I remember being, before I walked out on stage, a guy goes to me, like, oh, mate, are you not nervous to go out? Because we were the first class on. I was the first person on. And I said,
Mm,
I'm not nervous at all because I couldn't have done anything else to prepare for this. So,
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
whatever happens, happens. Like, I can come off happy that there was nothing more I could have done. And I think that's such a nice, like, mental feeling in your head of, like, it's
No,
up
for
to
sure.
like, there's nothing more I could have done.
I was having
That's
a chat to someone before my first show, and then they said, the first thing I said to them, because they're an experienced bodybuilder, I asked the question, how do you get over the fear of losing or not getting the placing you want?
mm,
And then they said exactly what you said. If you can say the night before your show, hand on your heart, hand in the sky to God, if you have done everything and you can promise yourself there's nothing more you could have done and you get
yeah.
beat, there's nothing more you could have done. That's the best placing you deserved.
Yeah, I think that
So
bodybuilding's
yeah,
like that, right? You have to just like you have to know that there's a tremendous genetic component to it. Like you could have five guys, all the exact same muscle mass, all the exact same
Callum
condition.
wants
If
a
you put,
five guys.
but
he was like,
like
five guys,
one
and I was
guy,
like, I wish.
one guy will stick out a mile. Stick out a mile because of his structure, and you'll never beat
Mhm.
that. You can do as much
Yeah,
drugs or food or whatever the heck you're doing or sit ups or whatever. You'll never beat that guy in your life. So it's being about being realistic about your potential in bodybuilding, or else you're literally
Yeah.
taking years off your life when we push as hard as
Mhm.
we do. You're
Yeah.
taking years off your life, so it's being realistic there.
And it's all subjective. Like, I remember one thing I actually found hard to deal with was on my first show, I came second, and I think I beat this guy who came third. The next
Mm,
show I did, I came in looking better, and he beat me. He came first, and I came second. And
mm,
I thought, like, what the hell's just happened? I beat this guy last week. I look better this week. Like, it's
yeah,
up to the judges on the day. So,
same
like, you
thing happened
cannot
with
base your
me.
whole, like, image of yourself off of someone else's opinion there, because it's all subjective at the end of the day.
it is. And then there's always going to be a little bit of element of favorites and stuff with federations and stuff
Mm-hmm.
as well. That's always going to be there as well. And
100%.
so, like, never take a place in too hard. Like, it could be anything. The classic thing, right? If you were better than you have been before, you're good. You're moving in the right direction. That's all you got to do.
Yeah,
The rest of
100%.
it, whoever comes where, it doesn't really matter. You be better than what
Yeah.
you are, and that's because you don't know who's going to stand beside you. You don't know if you're going to get a bad call, a good call, or whatever the heck it's going to be. You could have one guy against you. You could have four or five. It doesn't. Just be better.
yeah.
100%.
As people keep asking me, they're like, "Are you nervous?" And I'm like, "Not really," because like I can't control who shows up on the day.
Mm,
Like,
yeah,
someone like
that.
I could show up and win the show, or I could show up and place who knows where. Like, it's I don't know.
Mm,
It just depends who shows up, and like if it's a factor like that you can't control, then well, don't worry too much about it.
no,
I
but
think
we
I think
we all do
stressing
way
about
too
it.
much, right?
Well,
Yeah.
stressing about it's going to make you look worse. Like
Yeah.
there's
Comparison
no
is the thief of joy, and that's all we do. And when we
well,
look at
that's
social
it.
media, is compare ourselves to others, right? I don't have
Yeah,
this, he has that, or whatever. He's way ahead of me in condition. We destroy
Yeah.
ourselves. Thinking about things.
Yeah.
I'm
And one
just
thing,
doing it. Sorry, I'm
to,
just doing it, and then like after. I'm just thinking about after the show. I just want to grow again. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm just excited
Yeah,
about
yeah,
the actual body building. Like that's the fun
yeah,
part. That's the bit I enjoy. Just getting
yeah.
bigger. That's the cool aspect of bodybuilding to me is just being big. Like I just want to do that. Like doing the shows is just almost like this is like a thing you do in
Part of the
bodybuilding.
process. Yeah,
Yeah, but the actual show itself, like the results, I'm not too bothered about as long as I can like this time next year I'm better than I was this year.
yeah. One thing that
exactly.
about touch on the comparing yourself though. One thing I found recently, see, since the Infinity bodybuilding meetup, just
Mm,
that sense of way more community within like Irish bodybuilding,
that
and
was
it's like,
excellent.
yeah, it's almost like it, for me, it kind of got rid of the whole like compare put myself against everyone, if that makes
Mm,
sense. And it says I'm
oh
like,
yeah,
oh wait, this is actually just a massive community of people who essentially
Mhm.
wants to see everyone do well.
yeah.
It's just that you're in a competition against each other a bit. But I thought that was so good. It introduced me a lot more to, you know, a lot of the bodybuilders like yourself from down south and getting to
Mm.
see a lot and like that boy Alan, aka all his stuff. Whenever I was watching the podcast you do,
Oh yeah,
you
yeah.
him and the few other fellas, I was watching that just to trying to get some background and stuff. And like it was
Mm.
just really interesting that whole kind of community thing. And even I've seen you putting on these kind of hypertrophy events and stuff. They look really
Yeah.
good.
Oh, thank
And
you,
like
thank you.
bringing that back to kind of actual bodybuilding, teaching people about training. I think stuff like that is almost lost sometimes. Of
Oh
like
yeah,
you can get
hugely.
better at training. So yeah, they look really good in it.
Hugely. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. Like once again, if we appreciate training as a skill, we can hugely speed up our muscle accrual. I think up to twice the speed. I really do believe that. I think so many people train so poorly. They absolutely hammer themselves, but they're getting fuck all back from it. They're getting maybe 30% efficiency where they could be getting 70 or 80. We'll never get 100. We'll never in our lives do a perfect set. But if we can understand what actually drives hypertrophy and then try to exploit that, and just like the simplest terms in the world, time under tension, constant tension, they're terms for a reason,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I
stretch,
don't even think it's
avoid.
necessarily like I don't even necessarily think like because obviously like time under tension isn't as like if you're doing like a 3 second negative, I don't think
Mm,
that's you know compared to if you do a 2 second negative but you get an extra
yeah.
rep. Like I think it works out the same. I think the big thing is intent. Like the intent you have behind each rep. Like you're going into it and it's almost just what feels best to you. Like I know when I do specifically like a leg extension, I don't know what it is,
Mm,
but my first couple of reps, if I kind of blast them out a little bit, for some reason I just get a way better like my muscle connection with the
mm.
exercise. If like the first five are a bit quicker, and then
I
slow it
think
down.
like
It's just like weird wee things like that.
for me, like tempo and all those things are just completely overcomplicated. And I always say, just
Yeah,
control the weight at all times. And what I call
yeah,
control is if I was standing beside you and you're in a set and I said stop, could you stop that weight almost dead, or would it take a bit of time for you to gather it up because you're using too much momentum? If you're
hmm
using too much momentum, then you're not controlling the weight. I just think about we're trying to create with any movement we're doing, we're trying to create this perfect machine to break down muscle, working between the peak stretch and the peak contraction of the muscle, keeping a constant tension in it. So if you think like a piston, this perfect rhythm, that's what we're trying to do. Trying to keep as much
Yeah.
constant tension on them. Because if we look at what progressive overload is, we're trying to progressively overload the amount of tension throughout a set from week to
hmm
week. We're not trying to,
Yeah.
the overload is obviously the very, very deceptive part where people just think weight, weight,
yeah,
weight. But the weights and the machines in the gym are just our tools to create more tension. Mike Menser said it right. Just train harder. It couldn't be simpler. Train harder.
hmm
If you use 100 kg on a squat or whatever, What would happen if you did that squat 5% slower? There'd be more tension in your muscle. You've progressed the tension. You're moving forward.
Yeah, like
You
I
know,
had a
simplify it.
yeah. I think like I definitely think time under tension is important in terms of like as long as it stays the same. I had a client who sent
Standardization.
me, yeah, I had a client. He sent me a training clip, and he was like, "Oh, I PR'd on this," and then I watched it, and the set was 10 seconds faster, and I'm like, "Yeah, no
But that's
wonder
what we,
it's
we
like
need.
you PR'd on that. Like it's a like you've like made the set,
It,
like you've rushed it."
it comes to my thing on. I made a little reel recently as well on if training was standardized for everybody, even if you look at the best pros of all time, if you standardize their training to the same pace, the same movement pattern, everything like that, the same control, whatever way you want to say it, that the strongest bodybuilders will be the biggest bodybuilders because they can put the most tension and load through their muscle. You know, if we look at Phil Heath, everybody's like Phil Heath trained, you know, light and all this, but he was doing really incredibly controlled supinated grip
Yeah,
barbell rows with 140. You know, Ronnie was doing a super sloppy, you know, 220. But
yeah,
you standardize their form. If Ronnie did Phil's standard form there, their strength would not be that much different. I'd be very convinced of that, like, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
heard
just
And
Jay
then
Cutler talk about
obviously
that one
in
time.
terms of
yeah.
muscle
But Jay,
growth,
Jay
you
Cutler was
think
tremendously strong, like.
yeah, you think then in terms
Yeah,
of muscle growth, having like yes, if you're doing slightly sloppier form, but you have more weight,
Mm.
that's not the same equivalent of having less weight but with better form.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's how we
Yeah,
make this sustainable. That's how we make
yeah,
training sustainable as we're getting
yeah.
older.
But then the
But
reason
there
you
is
would obviously
something
go, yeah,
there is
injury
something
risk is
also.
obviously the biggest factor.
Yeah, hugely. But there's also something to actually progressively overload, and probably not the exact right term, the nervous system. You know, I think we do
Mhm.
way too many
Yeah,
isolations these days. Like we look at some people's leg workouts and they'll do say 4 or 5 isolations before they hit a squat movement, which is
hmm
wild. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like if we do a perfect deep squat movement and an RDL, we have ankle flexion, knee flexion, hip flexion, and hip extension with our RDL. We could walk away out of the gym. We do a seated curl and leg extensions. That's it. It's done. Everything has worked perfectly. We have fully stretched adductors, quads, and glutes, right? And then huge stabilization from our hamstrings in that deep squat position. I think people are they're going to the easier shit. And that's why like, I'm the biggest proponent in the world of T-bar rows. Look at
yeah,
all the best backs in the world. I'm talking density because someone will come along and say, well, look at my back. You know, I have all this, you know, this muscle. Well, you stand beside somebody that's been T-bar rowing and can T-bar row. My little thing is if you can T-bar row 6 plates plus, you know, with decent form for sets, you're going to have a pretty damn good back. I don't care if it's sloppy or not, right? Because a huge central nervous system stimulation there, but you're using your whole posterior chain to do so, you know. So I think all this one arm stuff needs to go straight into the bin. You know, I really do.
T
You know,
bar
it's
or sorry, T bar
T bar.
or barbell. Okay.
Either or. A supinated
Yeah.
grip barbell is the exact same movement pattern, right? A supinated grip barbell, elbows tight to body. You know,
hmm
don't bring the humerus beyond the torso line. That's where most people go wrong as well when they're training lats to bring the humerus beyond the torso line. How can that humerus start to come back upwards? Only if it starts to pull into the traps, right? And the
hmm
rhomboids. Okay, it's the only way it
hmm
possibly can. When we look at the fiber orientation of the lats are down into center, and we see it all the time. Guys are just pulling everything into their upper backs, and they wonder why their lats are so shit. You know, and people are always just like, I've good lats. You don't though. There's no thickness in your lower lat area because you never
hmm
actually stimulate it because you're flaring your elbow every single time. You know, it's so easy to fix these little things. You know, and I know people will always come back and say, "Well, you're not a great bodybuilder to me." And I say, "Well, look, I have, you know, you know, I understand biomechanics. You know,
Yeah.
it's very simple,
No,
very simple. You know,
no, I agree. Like I think your compound lift should be that's your bread and butter. Like that's how you get
absolutely.
big.
And if
Like
we're gone completely away from that, and you see on stage,
yeah,
there's no thickness, there's no density to guys. A lot of guys, like
which
especially a lot of younger guys, you know.
which I don't understand because the compound lifts are the fun things to do in the gym. Like getting
Yeah,
strong on
for
squat, getting strong on deadlifts, getting strong on
for
bench. Like that's the fun stuff.
And they
for
make you
so,
feel
for
like
someone
you've
that's
trained.
hardcore, and wants it, yes. But for someone that wants an easy ride and wants to do a photo
Yeah,
shoot, they'd rather sit down and get a better connection with their one arm pull down. They're only getting a better
yeah,
connection because they're using very little load and they're slowing the movement down, which they should be doing with that, you know, with that compound lift. Build the
yeah,
Yeah.
connection, then build the load. If you need to get a little bit sloppier, get a bit sloppier, you know. But there's nothing like my favorite movement has to be a T-bar row just pulling your back apart. You can feel every single fiber right from your head to your toe. You know, your huge stabilization through your hamstrings, your glutes, your erectors, everything just pulling apart. There's no sweeter feeling in the gym. A big old set of T-bar rows. And I tell you, all you would have to do, think about the T-bar row as a complete back movement. You could do 4 sets twice a week and you'd have an awesome back. I guarantee you that. You don't need anything else. You have shoulder blade protraction, you're hammering your lats, you know, shoulder blade protraction, that's our rhomboids, our traps. We have everything hit there, you know, with one movement. And people don't do it for some reason.
Yeah, it's almost like, I can't remember, I think we've discussed this before, Colin, but if you ever see someone who's came from an almost SBD background,
Yeah.
and then they go in, and then you then refine their training more and add in the isolations, they usually make way more progress because they've had this ability and they've skill acquisition of moving heavy load while stabilizing it and having that feeling of pushing themselves really hard. Like if I only done isolations, I wouldn't feel like I've trained.
It's a central nervous system stimulation. If we walk out of the gym and we're shaking like a leaf in our cars, we've done something very right there, you know. We have to force our bodies to respond. Remember, they don't want to bodybuild. Muscle is wasteful tissue to a body that wants efficiency. So we have to force our bodies to adapt. We have to say, remember, our subconscious wants 0 muscle damage. We want maximum muscle damage. So we have to completely consciously push back against the subconscious the whole time, you know.
That was literally
I used to have
tonight walking back to the car after the gym. But it was bad.
Shaking.
It was like single arm dumbbell row, T-bar row. I did the hammer
Lovely.
strength low row. All the main ones. All the main ones. Then I threw in the isolation stuff, but it was bad.
Yeah.
I
Chuck the isolation stuff in at the end.
Yeah, I used to have like a shoulder and arm day, and I would just like I just wouldn't be excited to go do it. It was just boring.
No,
you know, it was just like meh. Like I
You
would
should never
dread
need an
going to the that session.
You should never need an arm day. If you pull and push big old heavy weights, we have perfect elbow extension and perfect elbow flexion. We don't need it. You know, we're doing it. We're doing neutral grip. Anything pull a neutral grip, that's a hammer curl. You know.
Yeah, I remember I seen a podcast recently, and someone was asking, and they said, why in a lot of these newer guys do they have somewhat weaker arms? And one of the guys said, listen, because they never get strong at pressing, their triceps never build that size. They're trying to extension their way to triceps that come from a heavy press.
Yeah, definitely. But then look at how they press though. Like how much elbow flexion are they getting in their presses, and how much is actually, you know, like when I press and stuff now, because I can't get the flexion, I have to intentionally take a very wide grip because I can't can't dumbbell or barbell press, so I have to intentionally take a wide grip. So I'm getting not a huge amount of elbow extension, so not a huge amount of tricep involvement, you know.
Yeah.
So it'll always be how they move. Like if you look at a physique, you'll be fairly certain. If I watch them do this movement, I'm pretty certain how they're going to do it because of their imbalances, you know. Like if you have monstrous arms and shoulders and your back's absolutely shy, guess what? You're going to get a huge amount of elbow flexion.
That's
you know, you're going to be.
My arms are too dominant, my back shit.
Yeah, that's what it is, though, right? It's so obvious. You can look at a physique and you'll know how to move. Like you were saying with Neil, right? You know, when you watch him doing it, right? But you know, he's so dominant in the hamstrings and glutes. That's why, you know, it's how we move. Our body moves to our strengths the whole time, like, you know.
Yeah. Did we get many questions?
Mine was where or like when did you first actually get into bodybuilding? Was one of mine.
My brother was a bodybuilder. Well, he kind of got bodybuilding training.
Okay.
So I went to the gym with him a couple of times, and I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. Because I was always kind of strong enough from the old good old country boy thing and in the construction and stuff. So I just kind of, you know, the class. Once I was saying earlier, you make progress in anything, you get validation then as well. It sucks you in, you know.
Yeah. And you're saying that this is your last season. When are you starting? Like, what's your timeline for that?
Well, I'm either, if I probably gone too late now. I was saying if I had to go, I'd go in November and do PCA. But ideally, I want to get to next May. So I think that's all I'd have in me is next May, and that'll be it then, you know. So I'll do two or three shows there. But I want to pick that last show in Ireland to say that's definitely my last one, and I can have my friends and family at it. You know, it'd be really nice. If you actually be able to leave bodybuilding in your own terms, it would be really cool. Like, you know.
Yeah, muscle contest is around then, isn't it? the early one?
Yeah, I'll do muscle contests. My big thing is the PCA. I'd love to win the overall to PCA. That would be, of course, you never know who's going to be there, but I know I'm
Yeah.
going to be significantly better, and that's my level. PCA is my level. The NPC
Mhm.
is a step above
Yeah.
me.
Mhm.
What do you
For me to
compete in?
do, it was just open bodybuilding. So
Just open body.
I'd be just bodybuilding tall, or I'd be super heavy in NPC,
Yeah.
But for me to be very competitive in NPC, I'd probably need to be 10 kilos heavier on stage.
What
So
weight are you sitting at? Like what weight do you?
I'm
What's your heaviest you've been on stage? Actually, it's probably a
on
better question.
on stage was last year. It was about kind of 108 and a half ish. But
Mhm.
I should have been tighter for that PCA show. So it's about 106s. I was much better condition for my second show in Portugal. But
Mhm.
I'm about 130 now, kind of 129, 130. I've just tipped out 130. So my thing is,
Mhm.
you should never really look at weight, but when you know your body, what I want to beat is 112 on stage, inside out. I think that'll be a very
Mhm.
competitive me,
Yeah. Okay.
Sick.
Yeah,
There you
I
go.
think that'll be good. So that'll be my thing if I can. Yeah, attack this PCA would be cool. You got to
Yeah.
have some sort of a kind of goal to do. And I never used to say that before. I'd always was like, I was happy just to show up and do something. But
Yeah.
I want to, I've made significant progress since my last
Mhm.
show, and I know if I can push the same for the last kind of 5 months of the year here, whatever, I'll be a different animal.
Yeah.
Leave your mark. But
Yeah,
you want?
go out, giving it absolutely everything you have, so you have absolutely zero regrets, and you can say, I did
Yeah.
that.
I'm.
I gave it a
Yeah.
I'm on the
good go.
other. I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum where I'm just starting mine. Uh,
Oh yeah.
doing my first timers on the 6th here. Like
Oh, excellent.
it'll be interesting, but
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
I do.
Uh,
I think see a PCA overall though, like you're saying, I think the way they do that, it is the coolest thing in bodybuilding in my
Oh,
opinion.
that's what I
Like the
want.
NPC
Yeah.
show, you just like you win your class, they kind of give you your trophy, whatever you do, you like the bit of an overall. But see the way the PCA overall is, where they have the overall
Cannons.
winners come on and the lights go off. You see that bit
Yeah,
when the
it's
lights
cool.
go off. Like I was having it. I said to
Even the
someone,
music for it.
yeah, I
Oh, it's
remember whenever
brilliant.
I was in the
The sword and
overall
everything.
and yeah, I was in the overall and there was Mark Hodgson was in it. This other massive fella who won it was in it. This other open
Tough
bodybuilder.
overall there.
I was the smallest guy on the stage, but see when them lights went off, I in my head I was like, "There's a slight chance I could win this." I don't know
You
why.
never know.
Like I did. These guys were all 4 times the size of me, but there's just something about when them lights go off and you're stood there at like the back in the silhouette, and you're like, "This is just the coolest thing ever."
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, that's why
Uh,
I'd love. Yeah, we'll give it a go. We'll give it a go. I'll probably do the Naba show as well. Naba's back in the south here as well, so I'll probably do that, and I know the north one as well. So I'll probably do them. They're more my league. They're nice and handy
Mhm.
here. you know.
Sick.
Either the competition in Ireland's a bit easier compared to England, so I
Oh,
keep winning.
hugely, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
hugely, yeah, for sure. There's a different, but even from I think from north to south, I think you guys up there are much more. There's a bit better kind of more better community up there, but better bodybuilders as well.
I
I
think it's
think
because it's
everyone,
more condensed.
yeah, everyone
Mm,
knows each other up here who
yeah,
does it.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not just so many of the pros like your Iron Trucker and
yeah.
like Graham and like
It,
Jordan and
it's
like and
because
there's just
every
so
gym
many.
is within
Yeah,
a like
an
45
hour
minute an
max.
hour radius of each other.
Mm,
So it's like
Yeah, you
everyone's
train in them.
gone to
You
every
see
different
everyone.
gym and it's seen them. It's not like we're down south. Like for us to go to Nebula, it's a 3 hour drive. Like
yeah, it's
there's
it's a
there's
trek.
yeah, there's that like
That's
just
next week.
difference in yeah in distance.
True.
We'll be down
Yeah.
in Nebula next week for that Perfect
Oh,
Cast
very good.
podcast.
Yeah, yeah. That should be good, eh?
Mhm.
Will you be there?
I might do. I'm going down there tomorrow. I have a little seminar there tomorrow, so I
Very
will
good.
see. I probably will be. I'd say I will. I'll show my face. What else will I be doing? Sure.
It'd be good to meet in person there.
Likewise.
So you get any questions, Phoenix?
I got Sam messaged me saying rate his physique. Is
Rate
there
I
a
can
who?
go
way?
for
Sam
it.
Gorman's physique. Is there a way for
Uh,
AJ for you to put on screen or?
Um,
this is one of AJ's clients
I'm actually
Oh
not.
yeah.
I'm
who's
not
doing
too
who's
sure
doing
if
the
I
show
can.
in 4 weeks.
Um,
From the photos I've seen, I just said it's posing the legs, probably.
Let me see here.
Obviously, there's not too much you can do now. You're like 4 weeks out.
It's difficult
Yeah,
for
no,
sure.
he's-
Let's see.
Posing is hard as hell. One of those things I wish I was better at. There's about 3 left feet, man. I can't do it.
I can't hit anything from the back. I'm awful at like posing my back.
Oh yeah,
It's just trying to hit a back double and hitting a lat spread. The lat spread, my coach says to me, he's like, it's 50-50 whether you hit it like good or not.
yeah. You can't open
I
up.
don't
Is
know
it?
what it is I'm doing.
I'm scared to
It's,
press any buttons here in case
it's
they kick
usually in the
us off.
traps. Most people get
Yeah.
tight in the traps and they can't open the lats.
That's
You know.
that is what I'm doing like a bit. And
Mm.
then I need to like drop them. Like drop my
Yeah,
shoulders
just
and push them out.
completely lose that tension out of the traps.
Yeah.
You
I feel like
shrug
I
your
was the
traps there, you
opposite.
can't open your lats. You're the
Yeah.
opposite, really.
Since I was the smallest on the stage, I knew I had to pose well. So that's all I
Oh
did.
yeah, obsess on it, especially for classic as well,
Every day
Phoenix. You know,
for hours. Yeah, I suppose.
But
your
there is
routine
that
and
new thing
everything.
now of people like they're nearly too into the posing. If you know what I mean, they're not into the training.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I actually love
I'm
posing. I'm not very
scared.
good at it, but I love it. You know.
yeah, it is good if you
It's
have a
fun to
good
do,
song and
especially
stuff.
when
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
you are stage lean.
yeah.
When you're big bulk, it's not so much fun.
No.
I like the idea of it. Like it's our kind of expression. You know, that's what one of my things is that every category should be allowed to pick their own song and do a free posing routine. You know, to be able to kind of express themselves. I think it's a really nice way of kind of culminating the show. Like you know.
yeah. When you see people's different music choice and stuff, and you think, oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
cool.
like in like
Yeah,
physique and bikini and stuff, they just have to post some shit ass song and they have to do an
yeah,
exact routine and stuff. I think it's completely unfair. Let them pose. Let them do what they want to do. Do you want to hit a front double? Hit a front double. Why not?
yeah. That is sometimes good when you see the kind of female overalls and then one of them just hits a front double or
Ah,
something, and you're
yeah.
like, hell
Or
That's why
yeah,
most
I like
muscular.
figure and PCA. Like, yeah, absolutely. Why not? If you want to do it,
yeah,
express yourself. Put on your song and express yourself.
I remember Amy
yeah,
Edwards when she won her pro card,
Oh
standing with
yeah.
the overall, like the pose down. Wardy shouted most muscular, and then
Oh yeah.
what's his name? Warren Dyson, head judge. He's shouted in the microphone,
Yeah.
"No, don't!" Like
Really?
let
Yeah.
yeah, just let her hit it. Like, come on, she's already won
yeah,
the
Absolutely.
show.
Why the hell not? Like, this is bodybuilding,
yeah,
right? No matter what
yeah,
category you do, you're bodybuilding, you know?
100%.
Is there no way for you to pull him up? No.
No, because what I'm worried about is I feel like we've had a really good episode so far, and I
Mm.
don't want to hit some random button
And it
and kick us
disappears.
off, and it like doesn't load or something. So I'll try. We'll review his physique next episode whenever I can mess
Yeah.
about with it and not potentially risk kicking us off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough. Sorry,
Right.
Sam.
I probably need the head to be fair. We're
Yeah,
getting to the end point.
yeah. Will we wrap the episode up here?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, if you want, yeah.
We got an hour 17. That's long enough.
Yeah.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
For Callum anyway.
Thank. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Like too much going on.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming on, Brian. You've given us some
Pleasure.
great insights there, and I feel like we've had a really, really good chat there.
Yeah, it was.
Absolutely.
I really
Very
enjoyed that. To be
informative.
fair, that was very insightful.
If you want to plug yourself,
No.
where can the people find you? What do you do?
Uh,
What's your
well,
thing?
firstly, I just want to say thanks a million for inviting me on. As I said, it's really humbling, from coming from where I did. Like, 4 years ago, nobody knew me. I was a fat guy, nobody knew me at all. And to be invited on a podcast by you guys is tremendously humbling, and it's a privilege. And I think we had a great chat, so I really appreciate it. And just find me on Instagram, Brian Conway Bodybuilding. All my stuff is there.
Perfect. Well, I'll link in the episode and everything like that. And if I get some
Awesome.
reels from it, I'll collab you in the reels and stuff. So
Perfect. Absolute pleasure, guys. Have a great night, okay?
Yes,
perfect.
and thank
Thank
you.
you.
All
Have a
right.
good
Right,
one.
Brian.
Talk soon, boys. Talk soon.
See
Yes,
ya.
all the best.
And the recording.